Good evening and welcome to the September 1st, 2022 Historic Preservation Board meeting. I'm Tom Combs, Chairman. We'll get right into our agenda, so we'll call the meeting to order. First item is the approval of the minutes from the August 4th meeting. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
Any comments, corrections, edits? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, we don't have any certificates of appropriateness to look at tonight. We just have two informational items. The first is the Bicentennial Participation. That's the Preservation Appreciation Day that we have scheduled for October 8th. And each of you, I believe, has a little package of handouts that Shannon has prepared. And we'll go through those. I guess the first one I'll take, and that's in the package. There's a draft agenda for the 8th. And I would appreciate any comments or additions that you all might have to this. So I thought I'd kick it off with a little hello, and then we would get into our three presenters, and they can be in any order. If you have an opinion about which order these three should go in, let us know. So the first one on this list is the Landmark Society. There are two potentials, and we don't know which one it's going to be unless, Shannon, unless you've heard.
I have not, no.
Okay. And they're going to talk about the importance of preservation, barn tax credits, and how you might qualify on the track for the National Register of Historic Places. And we've allotted 20 minutes each for these three presentations, and you'll see as we go through the timing that pretty much fills up the 2 hours that we've planned. Now, one thing did occur to me on when I saw what their topics were, the barn tax credits. It seems that, I don't know, Kathy, you might remember 10 or 12 years ago, somebody did an inventory of all the barns in the town of Penfield.
There was an Eagle Scout who did it for his Eagle Scout project, and I wanted his photographs and also the listing of the barns that he got from the assessor's office. He asked them to give him a listing of all the barns before 1900, but his family moved to Syracuse and he took it all with him. So we could get another one from the assessor's office probably if we were so interested in doing that.
Well, my thought was that we're going to do a mailing to people who are in the historic houses and the old houses. So why not include the people who have the old barns too, especially if it's on the agenda. So I don't know if we can find those addresses.
I did if there were any barns that were called out in the Spurgeon King report, I did send invitations to those properties.
Yeah.
Other than that would probably be a whole lot of extra people. But I mean, it's something that we can look into. If not, it's just something that we maybe should have anyways.
Yeah. Well, there was, if my recollection serves me, it was like 700 some barns.
There were a lot. I don't remember the number, but there were a lot.
So that if that would make for a crowded room.
I think they counted out any outbuilding that was there before 1900. I don't think they necessarily had to be a barn, but it's still a lot.
It was a lot. Okay. Well, it's just an idea. So maybe that would make for too many attendees. Then I allotted 10 minutes for question and answers, or for the presenters to go a little over their time. Then Bruce Zareski, the landscape architecture of historic homes. He was here at the ones some years ago. I think did a commendable job. Was well appreciated. And then the third one is Chris Brandt from Barrow on the maintenance for historic homes. He wants to talk about 86 Mountain Road, which he also co-authored this book, and it's a subject to that book too. And then historic tax credit programs. So any comments, ideas of, will that all work? And then Shannon came up with some other things that we should talk about, so I took that opportunity to say, okay, can you talk about them? And she's accepted doing that. Do you want to talk to each of these, Shannon, just briefly?
Sure. Yeah, you're talking about the like the short presentation I would possibly be doing.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be beneficial to everybody who's coming to know basically what certificates of appropriateness are, how to apply for them, what the process is, and when you need it. So I figured giving a short presentation on that, and then also a short presentation on how to apply to become locally designated if people come who are not, in a district or locally designated individually. If anybody has any interest, just a short presentation on that, just to kind of give everybody a quick background on what we do as well. So.
Yep. Very good.
That's good.
Okay, there are a few other things that I had mentioned, and Shannon has very nicely covered all of them in terms of refreshments at the Appreciation Day. What's planned?
Just very light refreshments, bottles of water, goldfish crackers, and Rice Krispie treats. It's just a good variety. We have probably more than we need. I wanted to order them ahead of time before we really know, just in case. So I'm sure we'll have extras.
I had asked her about any audiovisual requirements from the presenters, and she said she's got that all taken care of with the PCTV people. The mailings are going out this week.
They went out today.
They
Yep,
went out today.
officially went out today. So I sent invitations out, which is the little postcard that everyone has in their packet. That's what everyone received who is individually designated locally. Anyone who is within a district in Penfield, and then any of the leftover properties that were identified in the Spurgeon King report. Everybody on that list received invitations, so that's about 200 invitations that went out.
Oh, great.
Yep.
Great. And in terms of the setup for the room, we'll just have the tables and chairs, and the room will be open a little bit beforehand, so if you want to come in and help us move tables around, I think I'll be here, but there won't be a lot to do. The presenters will be up here, or?
I think probably front and center. I assume that most of them will have PowerPoint presentations that they'll want to refer to. So I think we'll use this TV, see where we can best set that up. I'll work with PCTV on if it makes sense to leave it in the corner here and kind of turn everybody, or have the presenter in the center. We have the podium as well. So I'm sure whatever the AV requirements make most sense for that.
Great. All right, so things are coming together. Shan, you want to mention the other things in this little packet that you've handed out?
Sure. So just going through the packet quickly, on top is an informational packet that is updated from, I believe, 2016. So probably it was made, I assume, for the last Preservation Appreciation Day. I just updated it with new photos. Most of the information is the same, just changing who to contact, because it still had Jim Costello's information, and then updating who's on our board and the town board. Those were the big edits there. So more of just a brief pamphlet of information to hand out at the preservation event. The poster we already talked about last time. I created an architectural matching game. There's 2 different ones. I printed out just one for everybody to save paper. Basically, the idea is matching a historic photo to the current day photo. A little bit of a challenge, but I think it's kind of a fun idea for all ages. And they're all buildings within Penfield. And then the architectural bingo, there are 4 different sheets. I printed out one for everybody, same idea, save paper. That can either be done in person, walking around kind of a self-historic tour through one of the districts within Penfield. You should be able to get each of these on here. I went around and took these photos myself, so they're all buildings within Penfield. And there's 4 different sheets so that you can play with up to 4 people. And then the other way to play it is you can do it virtually using Google Earth and kind of doing a street view if people would rather do it that way. And then the one on the bottom is a coloring page that I drew for kids' involvement. It's of Strawberry Castle with flowers added around it to make it a little more fun to color.
You drew that?
I did, yeah.
Oh, great.
So that's for kids' involvement. We'll have crayons. I think we'll probably set up a little coloring station in the back, so everybody can be occupied, and if not, people can take them home and do it on their own time.
Great. Thank you. Great work.
Thank you.
This one, Shannon, well, that's going out to, or that went out in the mailing? Or?
It did not. So to save, that would be a lot of ink and paper. I can do it. It would be a lot to do it. So that's why we went with the postcards, at least to start. We're able to do more if we feel like we need to, but the poster is to post online, post on social media, post in the newsletter, and then post around the town hall is the main purpose of the poster.
Yeah. My only thought on this was the listing what the speakers might be talking about, to, if there's room, just to give a little more information.
Yeah, the original poster did have that. I summarized. I wasn't sure if it was necessary, but I can always change that. I think in the invitation that people received, I went into a little more detail on what topics would be covered, so people are receiving that information at some point.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay, was there anything else that we should cover? Any thoughts from the board?
I think Shannon did a great job.
Thank you.
Really nice.
Thank you, Shannon. It's a lot of work you've done.
Thank you.
Okay,
Great.
guess we don't need to vote on anything there.
Nope.
All right, the second thing on our agenda is just an update on the Clark House.
So the last update that we have is from the town board work session, which took place on August 10th. That was the last time that they met, so this was the last discussion that they had. Basically, I'll just run down a quick overview if you didn't have a chance to watch it, or it was a handful of weeks ago if you've forgotten. So basically, there was the overall theme that between our board and their board, that it was decided that the most historically significant portion of the Clark House is that original front portion that was originally the house. So the next kind of questions are getting pricing estimates for what it would be to restore, to save that front portion, to demolish the back 2 portions. So I believe the next steps were to have Eric Tate reach out to Bergman and revisit those estimates and get updated ones for the new need. So speaking of the need, that's the big question: how will the building be used? Because that determines what is done with the building. So the big ideas right now, the 2 big ones, are creating a lodge rental space similar to like the Dolomite Lodge, or moving the local history room. It was brought up that there were some safety concerns moving the local history room there. So that was something that the board is acknowledging. It was brought up, possibly maybe adding other offices in there. I think the idea is more so, yes, it's great to restore it, but we shouldn't save it just to save it. It does need to be useful. So how do we do that? So the preference seems to be that the town will maintain possession of the Clark House rather than renting it or selling it. So like I said, the idea in question right now is how to effectively use that old portion, how much it's going to cost. And then it was also brought up the question of, is it necessary to save the existing materials kind of based on pricing, or is it okay to match what it looks like with new building materials? That was something that was brought up that I think we'll probably have some pretty heavy opinions about. And then there was also, like we mentioned, that a preservation consultant should be hired. It was brought up at the town board meeting that actually I might be qualified to do that. I used to work at Barrow Architecture. I have my degree in architecture with a historic preservation concentration. So possibly hiring within, if the board is comfortable with it, if you guys feel like it's something that I can be biased about, I'm happy to take that on. No decisions have been made about that. That was just something that was very lightly mentioned. Also, I have to see if that's something I'm able to take on, because that would be fairly time-consuming outside of my normal job responsibilities with the town. So the next work session is going to be September 14th. So I think basically the town board is just looking for an update on Eric Tate talking to Bergman and making sure that they're able to get those new estimates. I don't think that there will be too much more to talk about. There's not much more that we can do as far as decision-making until we get those estimates, I think, is the next big step.
Yeah, did everyone have a chance to watch the meeting? Because there did seem to be a general agreement that they needed more options on the pricing, and the pricing needs some updating. It's been a while, so that was what was behind that. And without jumping to any conclusions, there did seem to be a lot of interest in the idea of attaching a lodge type of structure. So I guess behind it where the current structure is now. Because
Do you know the square footage of existing building?
I don't know it off the top of my head, no. I could probably find it, though.
of which building, Mira?
The original building, the one that they want to keep.
Yeah, I know it's pretty small as it is, so.
Yeah, I remember walking through that. It was pretty small, so just having that building for the lodge will probably not be very useful.
Right, and I think that that's something that was the big topic, is that there's no way you could have just a lodge for that front portion. There would either have to be something added on to the back if the other two portions are demolished, or adaptively reuse what's there.
And then it occurred to me afterwards that nobody's really talked about the cart house. The building is there, and it seems to be in pretty decent shape, but there weren't any estimates for either demolishing that or turning it into something else. I don't know if town can keep maintenance equipment there or something, but.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm not sure about that. That wasn't brought up.
Yes, it hasn't come up. And then I did notice when I walked around it, there was a broken window in the upstairs, which I mentioned to Shannon, that the rain comes from the west, and it was a west-facing window that can accelerate deterioration pretty quickly.
Yes, I did pass that information along to Eric, and he was aware of it, and apparently there's another broken window. So they're on top of it. I guess they were aware, so he said that they would get it fixed as soon as they could.
All right. Okay, any,
I have a question. So what, at what point does the town want to make a decision how they want to use the property in terms of another shelter? I know that was discussed. I mean, is that something that they would do next year? Just curious about timing and what they're thinking about the use for that. Is that something they kind of want to go towards? I mean, then you would think that, I know they're going to look at just restoring the front portion of the building. Are they going to look at demolishing the rear, which my assumption would be it'd be cheaper, as Chuck said, and maybe Mira said that, and then rebuild something onto the back of that would act as part of another shelter for the park system?
Right, so I think Marie wants to move quickly on this, kind of get it into motion, because the building's just been sitting for 4 years without being used since the town has bought it. So I think she wants to move as quickly as, possible without rushing it, of course. So I think, yeah, getting that pricing from Bergman on restoring, demolishing, and then adding a new portion onto the back of it, I think that will kind of give everybody a clear idea of what's feasible, what's in the budget, and what makes sense. Yeah, but I think Marie's idea mostly was relying on the fact that the town bought the property, has put money into it, so we should be able to use it and then create revenue from the building for, to make up for that lost time. And the idea, I think that the idea of the lodge was favorable because the town could use more lodge rental spaces. It's, I know that the Dolomite Lodge books out really far, so I think that was one of the other ideas.
And that's actually how town can get some revenue, because if it becomes a history room, there is no revenue there.
Right, and I think that was also part of the idea, yeah, to try and create revenue with it, however we end up using it. Yeah.
okay. Anything else that we should discuss tonight? All right, then have a motion to adjourn? And a second?
I'll second it.
And a second. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Very good.